Before starting the video, I really need your help. The channel is new and we need subscribers. Subscribe to the channel to help keep it active. Your subscription is very important so we can continue bringing classic car videos for you. The Chevrolet Nomad between 1955 and 1957 emerged as one of the most distinctive and courageous creations of American automotive culture, a vehicle born from an era in which designers were allowed to dream beyond conventional forms and engineers were encouraged to blur the limits between practicality and flair. Yet, despite its bold aesthetics and unmistakable identity, it remained a car many admired from afar but few dared to actually purchase. Calling the Nomad an icon is not an exaggeration. It was part of the famous Tri-5 Chevrolets, an era-defining lineage that shaped mid-century American motoring. But unlike the Bel Air sedans and coupes that crowded suburban driveways, the Nomad stood apart, almost too stylish for the station wagon market that Chevrolet tried to reach. Its story is full of contradictions, surprising motivations, engineering risk-taking, and cultural context that explains why this automotive treasure never became the commercial success it deserved, even though it holds an immortal place in automotive history today. In the early 1950s, American families were expanding, suburbs were growing, and lifestyle-focused marketing was at its peak. Station wagons were becoming the symbol of prosperity and modern living, vehicles that allowed families to carry more, travel further, and enjoy the freedom of the open road. But the idea of merging utility with the sleek lines of a sporty hardtop was still foreign to most buyers. When the Chevrolet Nomad was first shown as a Motorama concept car inspired by the Corvette, it carried an aesthetic so bold that many people struggled to categorize it. Was it a wagon? A sporty cruiser? A luxury accessory? This ambiguity, while exciting, became one of its biggest obstacles in the showroom. Buyers were drawn to practicality above all else, and the Nomad looked too sophisticated, too delicate, and too expensive for a wagon, even though deep down it offered everything a family could want. The 1955 production version stunned the public with its graceful roofline, slanted B-pillars, ribbed tailgate, and two-door hardtop configuration, elements never before seen in a family-oriented vehicle. Chevrolet's designers took the visual language of the Bel Air and blended it carefully with cues taken from the exotic concept car, resulting in something that sat halfway between a dream and a utilitarian tool. However, this unique blend generated internal debate at Chevrolet. Executives wondered if the market was ready for such a premium wagon, while some designers believed the Nomad could redefine what American families expected from their cars. The engineering department, tasked with bringing the design to life, faced challenges in mixing a hardtop body structure with the long roof of a wagon, a combination that required reinforcing elements and particular attention to chassis rigidity. These structural adjustments increased production cost, which inevitably raised the retail price. In 1955, the Nomad entered showrooms with enthusiasm from car magazines and styling critics, but with hesitation from the average buyer. Those who wanted utility chose cheaper four-door wagons. Those who wanted style tended to gravitate toward coupes and convertibles. The Nomad resided in a strange middle space, appealing strongly to people who wanted something different, something bold, something that represented the future more than the present. But such buyers were rare. Chevrolet learned quickly that Americans admired the Nomad but did not prioritize purchasing it, a situation that echoed through its 3 years of production. Still, the 1955 model became the most iconic of the trio, loved for its bold simplicity, its clean, jet-age lines, its fresh V8 power, and its position in a time when American optimism translated directly into the design of its automobiles. The introduction of Chevrolet's new small-block V8 in 1955 gave the Nomad a technological advantage that complemented its stylish persona. Suddenly, the wagon did not just look sporty, it actually drove like a spirited machine, capable of acceleration previously reserved for lighter cars. Families could experience a combination of power and practicality that had previously only existed in experimental or specialty models. Yet, potential buyers remained uncertain. The idea of buying a premium V8-powered wagon felt contradictory to many people who viewed wagons merely as appliances. Even the salesman sometimes struggled to explain the Nomad's purpose. It was not intended to be a workhorse, nor a budget family hauler, nor a glamorous personal coupe, yet it somehow carried hints of all three identities. What it truly represented was a new category that arrived before its time, and because of that, most consumers failed to understand the brilliance in front of them. In 1956, Chevrolet updated the Nomad with smoother lines, a more mature expression of the brand's evolving design language, and mechanical improvements that enhanced the driving experience. The new grille, revised tail lamps, and interior refinements helped reinforce its premium character. Yet, ironically, its elevated appearance made the gap between its identity and traditional wagons even larger. Buyers looking for style still resisted the idea of a wagon, while those seeking practicality avoided the higher price tag. Chevrolet attempted to reposition the car, emphasizing its luxury elements, comfort, and emerging sense of exclusivity. But the American public in the mid-1950s was more pragmatic than Chevrolet had hoped. The station wagon market was growing, yes, but the growth was concentrated mainly in models that prioritized affordability and function rather than design experimentation. Still, the 1956 Nomad holds a special charm today. Many enthusiasts consider it the most refined version of the Nomad's evolution, balancing personality with elegance in a way that only mid-century American cars could. The 1957 Nomad introduced even more dramatic styling cues, embracing the era's obsession with chrome, tail fins, and space-age flair. The sweeping trim, the iconic golden Chevrolet V and grille patterns, the crisp tail fins, and the gorgeous dashboard layout made the 57 version a truly glamorous machine, arguably the most visually striking station wagon ever produced. And yet, once again, buyers hesitated. The price was high, the utility was overshadowed by design, and the two-door layout still confused families who preferred easier access to the rear seats. Many families simply could not justify spending premium money on a wagon that looked like a custom showpiece. Others feared owning something so rare and unusual, it required a certain boldness to choose a Nomad over the safer, more familiar options in the market. And boldness, ironically, was the very trait that made the Nomad unforgettable but prevented it from becoming a mainstream success. The small production numbers that resulted from these market realities later became a blessing for collectors. What once made the Nomad difficult to sell, its uniqueness, its high price, and its unconventional identity, eventually transformed it into one of the most sought-after Tri-5 models among enthusiasts. Each surviving Nomad represents a piece of a world in which automotive design was willing to be fearless. Restorers often speak of the Nomad as a labor of love, given its intricate body lines, complex rear gate design, and hardtop structure, all of which require meticulous craftsmanship to bring back to factory condition. Many modern enthusiasts are captivated by the very same attributes that once deterred buyers: the slanted pillars, the long roofline, the ribbed tailgate, and the sporty yet luxurious interior. Today the Nomad stands as a reminder that innovation is sometimes misunderstood in its own time but celebrated decades later. Yet understanding the cultural context is essential to understanding why so few had the courage to buy it during its original run. The mid-1950s were marked by a paradox in American consumer behavior. People wanted to express individuality, but not at the cost of practicality or social norms. Families often preferred vehicles that blended in, not ones that made bold statements. The Nomad, with its dramatic styling, essentially demanded attention. It was not a quiet, modest wagon for understated suburban life. It projected a message of confidence, a refusal to conform, and a desire to stand out. In a culture where conformity defined much of post-war societal identity, this kind of product was destined to intimidate more than it inspired. Many admired the Nomad in magazines, at dealerships, and in car shows, but admiration does not always translate into willingness to commit. As the 1950s progressed, Chevrolet recognized that the Nomad occupied a niche too narrow for mass success. The company chose not to continue its unique two-door hardtop wagon structure beyond 1957, shifting instead to more conventional four-door wagon designs that appealed to broader audiences. But the 3 years of Nomad production left behind a legacy that no other wagon from the era can rival. The car embodied an experimental spirit and represented a moment in time when Chevrolet dared to break the mold and challenge the expectations associated with family vehicles. In doing so, it crafted an icon that future generations would cherish far more than the original buyers ever realized. Today, when enthusiasts and historians discuss the Tri-5 Chevrolets, the Nomad frequently becomes the centerpiece of fascination. It symbolizes a fusion of design precision, engineering ambition, and cultural daring that feels almost impossible to replicate in the modern automotive world. Its rarity only enhances its mystique. Seeing a well-restored Nomad at a show or cruising on a sunny afternoon feels like witnessing a living artifact, something that bridges past and present with elegance and swagger. Its reputation as the American icon that few had the courage to buy is not merely a dramatic phrase, it speaks to the truth of its history. It was too bold, too beautiful, and too unconventional for its own time, designed for dreamers rather than average buyers. The passage of time has only strengthened the aura surrounding the Chevrolet Nomad, transforming it from a misunderstood experiment into a revered masterpiece. Looking back, it becomes clear that Chevrolet was attempting to redefine what a family car could be, even if that vision did not align with the expectations of 1950s America. What made the Nomad too much for its era is exactly what makes it irresistible today. The cultural shift that occurred in the decades that followed helped people appreciate individuality over conformity, creativity over predictability. In this transformed landscape, the Nomad's daring design, once considered impractical, became a symbol of originality and artistic courage. Collectors now see it as the crown jewel of the Tri-5 series, not because of how many were sold, but precisely because of how few owners were bold enough to choose it when it was new. Among enthusiasts and historians, there is a persistent fascination with how seamlessly the Nomad blended contradictory qualities. It carried the heart of a sports car, the utility of a wagon, and the presence of a luxury model. Very few vehicles in automotive history have managed to combine these elements without compromising one in favor of another. The Nomad did this naturally, though at great financial cost. It was expensive to build, requiring more precise assembly, unique roof panels, custom glass, and structural reinforcements not shared with other wagons. Even within Chevrolet's factories, workers saw it as something special, something that demanded extra care and attention. Today, restorers acknowledge that the body fit of a Nomad requires precision far beyond what most 1950s American cars demand. This complexity is part of what makes surviving examples so cherished, as each restored Nomad reflects hundreds of hours of meticulous craftsmanship. The driving experience of the Nomad also helped solidify its reputation. Equipped with the beloved small-block V8, it moved with a lightness and responsiveness that surprised those who expected wagon performance to be slow and utilitarian. Its handling, especially when compared to other large American wagons of the time, felt controlled and lively. Families who owned a Nomad often describe memories filled not just with practicality, but with excitement. Road trips became adventures, and the Nomad became an extension of the family lifestyle. The car did not merely transport people, it shaped memories, nudged families to explore more, and instilled a sense of pride that other wagons rarely inspired. Yet such emotional value is something that many buyers in the 1950s overlooked when faced with the Nomad's slightly higher price tag. Practical buyers focused on cost, capacity, and ease of access, underestimating how meaningful the additional style and performance could be. What further separated the Nomad from other wagons was its role in the cultural imagination. While the typical 1950s station wagon symbolized conformity and domestic routine, the Nomad symbolized escape, possibility, and personal expression. Its very name, Nomad, conjured images of movement, exploration, and freedom. Chevrolet wanted the car to embody a lifestyle, but the lifestyle they promoted resonated more with dreamers than with mainstream families. In a society that emphasized structure and tradition, the Nomad's playful and aspirational identity made it feel almost rebellious. That rebellion, while appealing to a certain type of buyer, created hesitation among the majority. Many households simply did not see themselves as the kind of family who would drive such a bold statement. Another challenge the Nomad faced was competition within its own brand. Chevrolet offered multiple wagons that were affordable and highly practical. The four-door models were easier to use for parents with several children, and they came with simpler features, larger cargo space, and a lower cost of ownership. When families compared the Nomad to its four-door siblings, the decision often leaned toward the more traditional choice. Even dealership sales staff sometimes nudged customers toward the models that were easier to sell. The Nomad required a pitch that emphasized style and exclusivity, ideas that many consumers assumed were unnecessary in a wagon. Salespeople gravitated toward the safer, quicker sale. This internal tension unintentionally limited the Nomad's visibility and reinforced its identity as a niche offering. As the 1950s closed and automotive tastes evolved, the Nomad's brief 3-year run became an exotic chapter in Chevrolet's story. Later generations of vehicles, while more practical, lacked the emotional and stylistic daring that defined the original Nomad. The two-door wagon format faded from mainstream American production, replaced by more conservative body styles. And yet, while the Nomad's design lineage ended early, its impact lived on. Custom car builders, hot rodders, and nostalgia-driven fans revived the Nomad in spirit, turning surviving examples into showpieces, performance builds, and museum displays. The car achieved a cult status, revered not because it sold well but because it embodied the very essence of mid-century American creativity. In the realm of automotive collecting, rarity often becomes a measure of desirability, but rarity alone is not enough. What truly matters is the emotional resonance a vehicle carries, the way it captures imagination and represents a time period better than any written history could. The Nomad fits this category perfectly. Its design is unmistakable, instantly recognizable even to those who have only a passing familiarity with classic cars. The sweeping chrome trim, the egg crate grille, the panoramic windshield, and the signature tailgate combine to create a silhouette that is found nowhere else in the automotive world. Standing next to a Nomad, an observer can feel the optimism and ambition of the 1950s radiating from its lines. The fact that so few were sold enhances the feeling that those who purchased one understood something others did not. They saw potential, beauty, and excitement where others saw confusion or impracticality. They were willing to embrace a future that the majority was not yet ready for. These early adopters inadvertently shaped the car's legacy, preserving it in family stories, photographs, and memories that would later inspire collectors. Some of the best-preserved Nomads on the road today come from families who recognized the car's special nature from the beginning and cared for it with extraordinary dedication. Modern enthusiasts approach the Nomad with reverence because restoring one is not merely an act of repair, it is an act of preservation, a commitment to honoring a vehicle that represents artistic ambition. Each chrome detail, each curve of the roof, and each interior stitch contributes to the identity of a car that refused to be ordinary. The joy of driving a restored Nomad is matched only by the pride of knowing that the vehicle was never intended for the average buyer. It was designed for those who valued individuality over conformity, even if that meant resisting the trends of the time. The market today reflects this admiration. Chevrolet Nomads from the Tri-5 era consistently reach high prices in auctions, often surpassing the value of equivalent sedans and coupes from the same years. Collectors understand that a Nomad is more than a car, it is an artifact of an era when automakers dared to take risks. Its cultural significance places it in the same category as the most iconic American designs, not because of how many existed, but because of how deeply it influenced those who experienced it. Even people who have never owned a Nomad feel a sense of nostalgia when they see one, as though the car encapsulates an entire generation's dreams. Yet, beyond its beauty and rarity, what makes the Nomad so fascinating is the truth behind the phrase, "the American icon few had the courage to buy." Owning a Nomad in the 1950s was a statement. It meant stepping away from conventional expectations, embracing something bold, and accepting that your car would draw attention everywhere it went. Many people wanted that attention, but fewer were willing to commit to it. The Nomad spoke to the adventurous spirit inside people, but that spirit often fell silent when faced with the practical realities of family life and financial decisions. In the end, courage, not interest, became the dividing line between the few who bought the Nomad and the many who admired it from a distance. What remains most impressive is that the Nomad never compromised. It stayed true to its original concept throughout its short production run, resisting the temptation to become more ordinary or more practical. Chevrolet allowed the Nomad to remain an artistic experiment, even though this choice limited its commercial success. It is rare for a major automaker to take such risks, and rarer still for those risks to produce a vehicle so enduringly loved. The Nomad's unwavering commitment to style and identity is a testament to the vision of its designers and to the possibilities of automotive creativity. Today, when someone stands before a restored Nomad, they are not simply looking at a classic car, they are looking at a piece of American history, a living symbol of an era defined by optimism, imagination, and boldness. The Nomad invites people to dream, to remember a time when cars represented more than transportation. It represents a time when cars were expressions of personality, symbols of freedom, and extensions of one's aspirations. Its design still feels fresh, its presence still demands admiration, and its name still evokes the sense of exploration that Chevrolet envisioned over half a century ago. The story of the Chevrolet Nomad is ultimately about understanding and appreciating difference. It is about recognizing that not every innovation fits neatly into the world it enters. Sometimes, the world must evolve before it can fully appreciate a creation. The Nomad was ahead of its time, a vehicle built for a society that had yet to embrace the freedom of self-expression that would define later decades. Its legacy reminds us that bravery in design sometimes leads to delayed recognition, but recognition nonetheless. The same qualities that kept buyers away in the 1950s have made the Nomad a star of today's classic car world. In the end, the Nomad stands tall as a reminder that courage, beauty, and creativity are worth preserving, even when the world is not yet ready to embrace them. It remains an icon not because it captured the market but because it captured the imagination. And for a car built in an era obsessed with predictability, that achievement is nothing short of extraordinary.